Hello, passengers. This is your Chappy speaking, and welcome back to Chappy's Rambling Reviews. I say welcome back, but this is the first of its kind. I thought I'd try something a little bit different, but essentially the same format where I just talk. But it's going to be like a review. So without further ado, I say it's a review, but it's going to be a little bit different than your typical review. Mostly, again, I'm rambling here. So I kind of wanted to, with the new Fire Emblem coming out and it actually being kind of a hit, and a lot of people are talking about it, I thought I'd want to do a review to that. In comparison to the previous Fire Emblem game, well, the previous non-remake of Fire Emblem Fates. So, I really am enjoying this new Fire Emblem, where when it comes to Fire Emblem Fates, I don't necessarily like that game. I actually I wouldn't say hate it, but it's definitely not my cup of tea. So, without further ado, maybe I should start with talking about Fire Emblem Fates, which released for the 3DS. I don't have a year for it, but it released some time ago for the 3DS. And I was excited for the game nonetheless, because I really enjoyed the previous Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS. Like, I really like that game. Was probably my most played game on my 3DS. I don't know if I have any other that I've played as much than that game. So when they announced the next Fire Emblem game, I was pretty excited. But they also announced that there'd be two separate versions, a la Pokemon games, and that got me a little wary. But they were offering a special edition where you could get the two versions on one cart, and it would also come with the third path of the game, which would be DLC, which is kind of what brings the stories together. And I kind of remembered they were boasting the games, like, because it's Birthright and Conquest, depending on what side. I think one was Hoshian, and I can't think of the other one. Imperial, maybe, something like that. So Birthright was meant to be kind of a game for the more newer, casual fans of the series, where Conquest boasted more of a challenging game experience closer to the older games in the series. And either way, I was planning on playing through all of them. And it finally came out for the game to arrive, and I played them, and, well, they were tough to get through for me. Because I think, well, I've played through both Birthright and Conquest, but have yet to finish Revelations, which is the third path, because I just lost interest quickly. The game is fine. I thought it was just, the gameplay-wise, the tactile stuff never got me engaged nearly as much as Awakening did. But, like, for one, the game was kind of trivial. It seemed a lot easier than even Awakening. It didn't make me think too hard. I think that was kind of with the addition to the new Phoenix mode, because Awakening added Casual, the mode in which if you lost a unit in battle, they weren't permanently dead like all the other Fire Emblem games. But Phoenix took it one step further, where if you lost a unit, they would immediately respawn. And it kind of made the game extremely trivial. And I remember, at least for my second playthrough, I ended up turning on that mode just to get through the game, because I wanted to see the end of the story. I just don't think the combat was nearly engaging, and I think one of the other reasons why I wasn't nearly engaged with it is because, like, they got rid of all the weapon durability. I know they had other balances with it, so like older iron weapons still had a purpose. They might have had a better chance to hit versus damage, but I really don't remember. I don't honestly remember a lot of this game. It's just very forgettable for me. But I think one of the other main reasons I never liked this game is the characters. They're just not characters, and they're super forgettable. So I'm going to be using some terms people might not be aware be aware of, like the terms waifu and husbando, which essentially, like, I don't really know the definition now that I think of it, but I think it just kind of refers to like your 2D wife or your 2D husband, that you're just characters from fictional work that you really care about. So this kind of harkens back to Awakening, whereas Awakening had really good, rememberable, lovable characters. So this kind of got the trend rolling with the waifu and husbando, because a lot of people grew attached to these characters because they're really good. So when it came to releasing Fates, all these characters were essentially made to be waifus and husbandos for the audience. So they're kind of meant to be that first and not real characters, which just makes them, for me at least, super forgettable. Like, even like going through the opening of the game just to get some footage, I honestly don't remember anyone besides the main family members, which is kind of sad. It's just they're forgettable. So what point do I want to make next? I think a lot of why I don't like this game comes down to the characters and the story. They're just forgettable and dumb, and I kind of understand that they kind of want, it's like you have to choose a side and go after them, but and fight the other side with these options. So I think, like, another big thing that kind of seemed problematic at first was the design of the main character, Corin. I just remember when I first saw it, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like the armor he's wearing. I don't like the whole bare feet thing. It bothered me. And I know I kind of wasn't, I didn't have the strongest feelings towards Robin, who is the creative character for Fire Emblem Awakening, but I really grew to like him. Mostly because, like, when it comes to RPG games or anything like that, I've never been a fan of magic users until that game, which kind of introduced me to the concept of Magus, which is spell sword. So someone who can use a sword and also use spells. I just always thought that was super cool, and I really enjoyed that character and, like, how powerful he'd become. But Corrin's whole thing was that was, like, also sword, but could become a dragon, which I guess that's cool to some people, but I was never a big fan. And, like, another problem, just kind of not so much with the game, is, like, the fact as soon as, like, they announced the game, I think they announced they were going to be adding Corrin to Smash for Wii U and 3DS. And which we all know, like, Smash currently has a Fire Emblem problem because they're all very samey, but that's not for here. And I don't think I got anything else I want to talk about this game. I think I made my points that, like, I just don't like it because of the story and the characters and how easy the game is. Like, it's a fact that this game kind of turned me off to the series so much that I didn't end up playing the next game, which was a remake of, I believe, the second or third. So I never ended up playing that. And when they announced the new game, Three Houses, I didn't really care. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, a console Fire Emblem. I didn't care until I watched. Like, I really wasn't watching videos on the game, but I ended up watching the kind of the whole which house will you choose videos that Nintendo uploaded, and it really got me interested. It just seemed super different, uh, which I will make the point that people have made already, that this game is Fire Emblem meets Harry Potter meets Game of Thrones, and yeah, I agree. I think even to the point where the three houses have main colors like red, blue, and yellow, and they very much seem to me to represent like Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff. Sorry, Slytherin. But no, I totally wasn't planning on picking up this game until I watched those videos, and I'm like, you know what? It's been a while. I think I will try this. So I ended up picking it up, the games when they came up, and playing it, and like immediately falling in love with it. The games, it's one singular game. No, the game is super good. I really enjoy it, and I'll try to make points why I enjoy it, kind of versus Fates. I think the biggest thing that I love about this game is the whole you get a squad of students. Okay, so I should make the point that you are a new professor to this school and church, and you have to pick a house to teach. So you're a teacher and you look over a handful of students, and these students, even though they might have like some skills they favor, they are essentially blank slates that you can mold to be any class in the game you want. And I really, really, really like that. I really like the customization about it. And you're the same way too, but you kind of have to work harder to get your own skills up. But it's fine if you work at it, and I feel like now we're getting back to the point where these characters feel like characters and not these waifus and husbandos. And I much prefer it. They feel like they're real people, and I really enjoy, at least because the path I chose being the Black Eagles, I have really enjoyed all of these house members that I get part of. And I really like the concept, and I should reiterate, I haven't beaten the game, and I gotta just stop saying I like the characters, because the again, like, it feels like I'm playing Awakening all over, where I'm actually super engaged in the combat and what choices I want to make. And I also like the new mechanic where, Fire Emblem always boasted, like the older games, of hard resets or soft resets, setting the game so you can make sure a character you like doesn't die or save everyone. But now it's built into the game to an extent where you can go back to a previous action and undo it if it means bad for a character, which is, I really like that mechanic. It's super cool, and I think it's well implemented. And the least, like, again, I haven't played that many Fire Emblems. I played a bit of one of the GBA ones, Awakening Fates, but it always seems to be that you would go around a map selecting missions, and you could use this to grind and whatever, but you can't do this in this game, because the game is now built on a calendar system very similar to Persona, where you have a set amount of actions per week that you have to decide what you're going to do with it. Will you use it to battle and grind, or will you explore the school and raise your level as a teacher, or will you use it to cook, etc., make new bonds with people? Like, I think that's cool. I think that's very cool. But I kind of want to briefly, going back to combat, where I believe like Fates could be super trivial. It's, at least on casual mode, which is what I've been playing through. some of the characters I have gotten really strong. I'm not saying it's super easy, but a lot of my characters seem to be pretty strong and can easily dispatch enemies, which I don't have too much with a problem with it because I like the feeling of being super strong. But I do really enjoy this game. It's been a good addition to my Switch's library, which I love seeing growing every day. So I do highly recommend this game if you like tactics game and on that point, like I also I wanted to make that the character models look super good too. I think they're really well done. I like the kind of 3D anime style they're doing, especially in the animated cutscenes. Like I'm pretty sure they are still 3D. At least, well, the more FMV cutscenes, the pre-generated, well, not pre-generated, full motion. You know what FMV is, I hope, but the kind of the pre-rendered cutscenes that they play occasionally, but I believe they're 3D, but you could not tell. It looks 2D and it is done really well. And I don't know, because it's not really here or there, but the newest anime for Berserk used a 3D style, like a 3D 2D hybrid, and this looks like what Berserk should have or could have been. It's so nice, and it desperately wants me to them actually doing an anime for a Fire Emblem game. I would definitely watch it. They're super cool. So I think I've made the main points I wanted to do is why I super love this game and don't like Fates. Yeah, they both, well, I wouldn't say they both have their positives. Three Houses has its positives and Fates has its negatives. I mean, Three Houses still has its negatives. Like, some of the textures don't look the greatest when you're playing on the TV. It's like not as noticeable in handheld, so it kind of makes me think like this game was meant to be more played in handheld, but I prefer it on the TV. But like, yeah, some of the textures look very low quality when you're playing it on a TV, especially if you're like me and are playing it on a big 4K television. And kind of gonna sidetrack here. The game sounds amazing if you got it hooked into surround sound. It's so immersive. It's really cool, and I have been gushing for quite a bit. So I'm gonna wrap things up. So if you've got a Switch and you like tactical RPG games, definitely pick this up. So till next time, know that you are loved and cared for. And this has been your Chappy speaking. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Goodbye.